In the pentagram rite, the tingly feeling all over built up. And in the north, there was a strange brown thing that's not there physically. On the left side there, it was surrounded by a blue light. I saw 3 twists, like a rope, going up in white in the first set of vibrations. In the second, I saw that it had, to the right, 4 knots. In the third, "212 red dots formed a circle around the knot of 7. And then, in the fourth, the north and the south were blackened. In the fifth, up above was blackened and descended to the point where I could feel it. And my crown went through it. And then the floor grew dark. And before and behind. And I don't know how to describe the sound, but I heard some sort of sound outside of the temple, and it repeated 3 times. It's almost as if I responded to it internally at the same time. In the final reading, I saw some outline-like shapes, and they weren't entirely in line with the rituals at hand, but I did have a sense of much the same planets or internal centers that were being talked about in the symbolism. And I felt the euphoria come down me, a pleasant warmness, a sense of not being physically weighted down. Things loosened up. The analgesia relieving the pain. And in the final scrying, things brightened up. The shadows were still bigger than what you physically expect, but it was like light shone from the shadows, filling the room very softly. A lot of effort has been made in this book to argue that Aleister Crowley wasn't a Satanist, despite some satanic formulas that he used, despite some blasphemies that he used. Now, I would argue that Aleister Crowley was a combination of more reverent theism and a blasphemous sort of Satanism. Now, he mixed all sorts of religions and stuff like this, and he did enjoy, the reaction that he got from people. And this book shows that, well, what he meant by that wasn't so objectively evil as people might think. Taking on the marks and stuff like this is, more about initiation than anything else. We find that the rituals represent the drawing in of qualities and the aspiring, the identifying with qualities. There is the going beyond forms, yet using forms. So Aleister Crowley understood certain passages buried in some of these scriptures. And he used a lot of sexual symbolism. I think some of his, his one glyph, he was definitely trying to make it look sexual. And the incest symbolism in the star sapphire is difficult to deal with, you could say, because it's naturally something people would have aversion to, even the mention of. The knowledge and conversation with the holy guardian angel can be looked in terms of lifting oneself up. It can be entirely psychological rather than contact with another being. But the main point is there's a transformation to be had with it, an expansion of consciousness. You have to work with your lower self if you're going to work with your higher self. And this is thought of in different ways. I've talked extensively to people through the years about the mesocortical and the mesolimbic responses. Chapter 69 of the Book of Lies is certainly something that is useful in terms of its connecting the act that the title alone will tell us what some of it is. And we can say that sexual symbolism is symbolic of something else, even though there's the real world application of that, or there could be. Hexagram and pentagram rites are something that connects you with different aspects of existence. Some people will say the hexagram is the macrocosmos and the pentagram is the microcosmos. Some people will say they're each different parts of the same. Liber Reguli, 5 Vel Reguli, is such that it connects to these energies of this age, that it's practiced to, be an opening. I like the version of the star ruby with the more Greek names by itself, Upska, Eros, Cosmos, Chaos. I mean, I didn't use the right voices, but you know what I mean. The magical formulas that are as quarter words. You don't have to consider Aleister Crowley the authoritative prophet over you for you to get the whole Lashtal, Agapa, Amgun, we are Aw, as it might be pronounced. Fiof. And as far as the pentagram rites and the hexagram rites and stuff, there is talk about how a person's place in the universe is changed. There's a verse, you flip and twist upon the same axis, towards the same ends, but it, has a greater effect if you figure out how to use it. But in order to use it, sometimes you gotta be in that position, right? And you got to like prepare yourself rather than just getting into it. It's like, this is the normal way, here's the normal positions.